Welcome. This is day 20 of the Pet Advent Calendar. We are almost there. And my name is Luis Víquez, and I will be your guide today. And the paper we're talking about came out in the Royal Society Open Science Journal in 2016, and it's called Airplane Tracking Documents the Fastest Flight Speeds Recorded for Bats. So it's always interesting to understand and to know how fast animals can move. And this is a fun paper to read because, especially, one of the things that I like at the beginning is that they're telling you this as if you're in a conference drinking a coffee with somebody and they were telling you what they did. They're telling you who is doing what. It's like, oh yeah, Martin is flying the airplane, and Tom is capturing the bat outside the cave and putting the transmitter. But it's kind of like fun writing in a way that it seems kind of personal, right? So what they did, just in a nutshell, they took the bats, they captured the bats as they were going out, they put a transmitter on the back of the bat, and they released it back into the column. And then Martin Witkowski was ready with a Cessna that had already the antennas for tracking the bats, and they start following the bats with the airplane. So they could track how fast they were going, where they were moving, and also the transmitter that they had on the bat gave data, so they could know if the bats by any chance they were skipping a bit when they were flying, right? So we normally think that bats are continuously flapping, but it might be that they skip a couple of beats. So they were interested to know if at high speeds this was happening, if bats were more likely to skip a bit at high speeds, right? So if we go to the results real quick, what we see is that in a night's flight, they documented that bats move between 40 and 60 kilometers per night, which is quite a lot. Remember that Claudia, we already knew it was a good flyer and that they were fast, but this is quite impressive how much they can move. And the fastest speed that they were able to record, even when they removed one outlier, was 44.5 meters per second. So if we translate that if we multiply this by 3.6 to put it in kilometers per hour, we will get that is close to 160 kilometers per hour, which is absolutely crazy, right? That these bats can move this fast. The mean for all 7 bats that were tracked was around 20 kilometers per hour, which is more what we could expect, right? And the median for each of the individual bats will tell you more or less how different bats, what is the most common speed for each of the different bats, were between 13 and 51 kilometers per hour. So we see that there's high variation between these parameters. But it's just quite interesting how fast these animals can move. It's also interesting that they were using no night roost across the whole night. And finally, one of the things that they found is that when the bats were at high speed, the higher the speed, the more likely were they to skip a beat. So they were not just flapping, but they were also gliding at certain points, which seems to be interesting because it's something that has been reported more for birds and not so much for bats. So anyway, this is just a short summary. I really recommend to read this paper. It's a nice paper, especially for holidays weekend like this one. And I hope you are enjoying these videos, and I would like to remind you again that if you feel in the given spirit, we are asking you to donate money to the teachers workshop at NASPAR. I'll put up the link in the description of this video, not in the description, but in the post in the blog. And thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you tomorrow. And sorry that my video is sliding a bit down, but my setup is quite funny. I could post a picture later on. So thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow.